If you're wondering if photography is hard or if you want to take great shots without breaking the bank, then you're in the right place. Today I'm sharing 6 photography tips I wish I'd known early on, and the best part is you can use these tips no matter what gear you have. And trust me, tip number 6 is the most important one, so stay with me. G'day friends, when I started my journey in photography many years ago, I wish some of these tips had been shared with me, because then I would have saved myself a whole lot of rolls of film and it would have elevated my photography a lot faster. But whether you shoot digital or film, these tips will still apply. Even if you shoot with your phone or if you shoot video like I do, these techniques can be used there also. So let's get started. Tip number 1, shoot through objects. Whether it's through foliage or other objects, nothing creates a more layered effect in your photography than shooting through an object. You can shoot through foliage or a tunnel or anything that actually takes your interest. The good thing about this tip is it helps your photography create a unique foreground. So normally you wouldn't have something in the foreground, say in a landscape shot, but if you shoot through the branches of a tree, you get a really nice layered effect. And the best part about this is you can use this anywhere. You don't need fancy gear for this either. For instance, a shot like this might be considered boring, but when you use a tip like this, it makes your image more dynamic. When I'm outside and I'm taking photos of people and I want to make it look a bit more artistic, I quite often find a bit of loose foliage, hold it in front of the camera and shoot through that. It makes that image shine. Tip number 2, don't be afraid to use the wrong lens. Now what I mean by that is every single lens that's out there has a purpose. A wide angle lens is generally for landscapes or real estate. A zoom lens is for sports photography. A 50mm lens might be for portrait photography. All these lenses have a purpose, but don't be afraid to use the wrong lens in the right situation. And experimenting with different lenses can lead to amazing results. And remember, it's all about creativity, so try a macro lens or a zoom lens for landscapes. Try and get a different look in portraits by using a wide angle lens. And although lenses generally have a purpose, don't let anyone tell you you can't use a certain lens to do a certain thing. I guarantee you that if you took your zoom lens to the Grand Canyon, because that's all you had, and everyone else was shooting with a wide angle lens, you would have the most interesting Grand Canyon shot out there because you can only focus on certain aspects of the Grand Canyon where everyone else is getting the whole thing. For instance, have a look at these 2 images. I took both of these images, but the second one is the one I like the most. This is the Westgate Bridge in Melbourne, and I can guarantee you no one else has a shot like this one. Tip number 3, stop looking for epic locations. Instead, just start shooting. You can find beauty in everyday surroundings all around you. Whether it's around your neighborhood or in your backyard, photography for beginners and pros is all about exploring what's around you. Have a look at this photo. This is not an amazing photo by any means, but during COVID, we were in line for about an hour waiting to get tested. And what caught my eye about this photo was the reflections in the water. I just found it interesting. I actually took this with my phone. Just find the beauty in everything and start shooting. Tip number 4, use every bit of gear that you have at your disposal. From your camera to your smartphone to DIY stabilizers. Even if you just have a drone, just use that. Make the most of what you have. Every single bit of gear you have can capture amazing things. Drones are fantastic in getting a perspective you normally wouldn't get. I put drones and macro photography in the same area because both of those worlds we pretty much ignore. We can't actually see unless we put a camera down really, really low or a camera up really, really high. This shot right here, for instance, is one I took when I was camping with my drone. I love this top-down shot of the coast in Victoria. Would never have got that shot, obviously, without having a drone. Tip number 5, shoot into the sun. This sounds dumb, but it works really well when you do it this way. Make sure you focus on something in the foreground to break up that shot, whether it be a person or an object. You can get really interesting silhouettes this way, but if you actually expose for something in the foreground, it'll blow out the background and give you a really unique look. And this works great in video too. And finally, tip number 6, use your smartphone when scouting for photo ideas. This is the most important tip of all. Your phone is a very powerful tool. It allows you to quickly capture and assess potential shots for later. So for instance, a few weeks ago I was camping and we were looking for certain shots to do maybe at dusk. So we'll walk around during the daytime when it wasn't optimal time to take dusk photography and find out a good place to take photos from. And we're taking all these snapshots with our phones. And you get a really good perspective on whether you think that area is worth coming back to, or at the very least, you don't forget about a shot you might want to take. Sometimes you come back to that area weeks later and you think, what was that shot I wanted? And you can look at your phone and go, oh yeah, I remember now. It's a really good tool to have. So there you go, 6 tips that prove you don't need expensive gear to create amazing photography. If you're new to this and you're trying to work out what lenses you should be using and what you shouldn't be using, I've done a video right here explaining just that. Happy shooting.